Hi guys, what are we going to do today? Today we're going to do Sashiko stitching. I'm going to show you how to use different pens and stencils to transfer your designs on. Let's get started. So this is the stencil we're going to use for our project. But before we get started with that, I'm going to show you the markers that we're going to use, and they're all a little different. I'm going to be using the black marker on this fabric, but I could have used probably any of these on this fabric. But if you need to transfer something onto a dark fabric, a lot of times it's really hard, and chalk can be kind of bulky and powdery and erase. So I'm going to show you something fun about this white. Now the one thing, the white is a little different than the blue, red, and black, and you're going to see the differences. I'm going to draw these on here, and it's going to look like it's not showing up. But for the white, what you have to do is you just have to wait. Just wait a couple seconds, and it'll get darker and darker. And I think, and these are like a gel pen, so it works so nicely. The next cool thing about this, so when you're done with your project, no matter what color you're using, and you want these lines to disappear, I'm just taking an iron and lightly touching it, and it's gone. Now I'm just going to, I could use any of these, but I think I'm just going to use black to make this easy. And I am going to just use this stencil and draw this on here. Okay, so I'm going to just do this onto this piece of fabric. But if you had an apron or a bag or anything else, that would be really, really cute just to trace it on there. So I am just going to draw these lines. And this is so much easier than a lot of the traditional Sashiko that you make grid lines and draw your pattern, which I still enjoy doing also, but this just makes it so much faster. So you can see, whoops, I did forget one line there. Let me just throw this little line in here real quick. So at least you can see it if you've missed. Okay, so we've got our pattern on here. Now we're going to start stitching. So if you're buying skeins of Sashiko thread, some come on little spools in all different colors that you're going to take off. Some of these that come in 40 meters, this is really fun to do. That I'm just going to pull the wrapping off, carefully find where it separates. Make sure I'm getting the correct area. Find where it separates here. May have gotten off by one. So let's see if I can get this open where it needs to be. This does happen every once in a while, so you just want to make sure you get them where you need them. So what we have here is, you're going to see when you've got that open like that, there'll be a strand of thread here that has some little loops on it. And it's going to have this little weird tie right here. And what I want to do, and I know this looks scary, first I'm going to cut this loop off that wraps around. And then I'm going to cut just below this. So this will be our two ends. Now when you're doing Sashiko stitching, you usually want threads that are about 20 to 24 inches long. My two ends are right here. I'm going to open this up, and that's about how long this is going to be. So what I'm going to do next is where my two ends are, they're right here. I'm going to cut my threads right here. Bring it down, cut it right here. Then I'm just going to I'm going to cut a piece just of thread from something else, and in two places in this skein, I'm going to tie it's going to be tied but loosely so it doesn't fall off, and I'm just tying it into a little bow. I'm going to put it here. And then I'm going to put one down here. So while you're working on a project, you're not having to measure out your threads. And I'll show you how you get them out very nicely. So when I need my next piece of thread, I'm going to hold on to this knot and it will just come right out and you have your next piece of thread. So when you have, if you can get a good Sashiko needle, they really, really are worth the money. The thread goes through very nicely. The points are very, very, very sharp. So what I'm going to start with is I am just going to do a small knot and we are going to start in the back. Now with these stitches, the one thing you want to do is you want the stitch that shows, this is a running stitch, you want the part of the stitch that shows to be about 2/3 of the stitch, then 1/3 is what is underneath. So I am going to start here and you want to do a running pattern. So I am going to go up, there, 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 there. Then I'm going to start here and go down and do all of these and then back up. So I'm doing a long running stitch. You have to figure out how many stitches do you want per block. And with geometric patterns, a lot of them are fairly similar. The sizes are going to be the same. So you can make that decision when you're starting, how big or small you want your stitches. So this one, I would probably do 4 or 5. And I think I'm going to do 4. I'm going to go in and then slightly up. And there's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. I probably could have done 5. And you want your stitches to be loose. So I may try 5 on this next one. I think 5 may be better. Coming up, and I am going to go down, grab just a couple threads. That's number 1, number 2, number 3. You know, maybe I will just do 4. Now with Sashiko, you can also just gather as you go. So now I can actually go to my next piece and keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. The one thing you want to be sure of is you do not want to pull your threads tightly. And even if you're turning a corner, and I'll show you when we get up here, you want to go all the way down and then from the back come all the way up so you're not pulling it. 1, 2, 3. I've got my 4th stitch and I'm coming up to here. And you can see the back side where I've crossed across, you can see it's larger, but these little dots here. You really want your back stitch to be smaller. You want more of the thread showing, but you do not want your threads to touch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back up. Now, since I'm getting to the end and I'm going all the way over here, I'm going to bring this all the way to the back. Do it loosely. And I have my thread. Now I'm going to find where I need to go. I'm going to go up right here. And I want it to be very loose. I want it to be really loose there. I don't want it to be tight at all. And now I'm going to go back down this edge. So I'm going to continue doing all of these all the way up and down, all these zigzag pieces. And what I'll do next is I will do these lines. And I can even go across this. It's kind of large, so you may want to stop, but you still can. You could just do, I would do 2 stitches there, 2 stitches, 2 stitches. This, I would still do 4 stitches. So then you're going to do your running patterns this way. If my gap gets really large, that's usually when I will knot and start over. So I'm going to do all of these, and that's what I would do first. But I want to show you how I did these lines, so I'm going to do that right now. I've started my knot. I am going to go down here to this bottom line, and I know this is the same length as that. So I'm going to do 4 stitches again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I am going to go all the way across to the next one. I went across the whole bottom on the back side, and I will show that to you. And I will do this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to knot this off. And then I will do this line the same way. I'll do 2 stitches, go all the way to here, 2 stitches to there, 2 stitches to there, and 2 stitches, and knot it off. To knot this, you can either go through the thread several times or just lay your needle down like a quilter's knot. Wrap this thread around the end a few times, hold onto your thread, and pull your needle all the way through, and you have a knot there. And it is loose, but that's what you really want. And then trim it, and then you have that piece. So after you finish stitching, you can see how how this looks together, and I'm going to show you the back side. But at this point, this is when you would iron it if you have any other ink that shows anywhere, so that will be gone. And here is my back side of this, and you can see where all my long stitches are and my little knots. And I've trimmed some. You don't want lots of huge hanging knots, but you don't want this to be tight at all. So here are some other stencils or designs that we had done. So on this one, I did 1, 2, 3, and then I jumped to there, 1, 2, 3. And you can see what the back looks like. I just jumped across 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then came back and did that and did this. And then I did the same on all these and then ran them this way. So you're doing like one big long running stitch. And here is another one where you go all the way down, and then I went across. Up this way and then across. And on these, I went like that, just angled. So you want to look at your stitches as, how do I make this one continuous line to make this work? So you can see how I did these. And same with this. Down there, up here, down here, up here. And on these X's, I put a little quilter's knot, a little French knot in the center, but these do not touch. You do not want your stitches to touch in any corners. So I just did a stitch, a stitch, a stitch, a stitch, and all the way down. And same going across this way. So if you don't want to use a stencil, you can either grid out your fabric and do your own designs, or you can buy fabric that is already like this, that you can draw your designs on here, and these actually give you a nice stitch. You don't want to do an X in between these. You either want to go one way or the other because you don't want them intersecting, but you're seeing the size of a stitch you might be using for any of your patterns. So this is another fun way to do the stitching. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and you got some new tips and ideas for doing your own type of stitching. And whether you just do it on a piece of cloth and make it into a little bag or purse or eyeglass holder, put it on the back of a vest or a dress or even an apron. Hope you guys give us a try. We also have some stencils, but there are so many designs out there, or you can make your own. Hope you give us a try, but whatever you do, have fun.